Hello, welcome back. So I put up a video yesterday with some solid fuel powered boiler setups, and I had some useful feedback, and I thought I'd make a quick video to address some of the queries and to try something out. So this is the monster array. This is what a single piece of it looks like. So it's got your 20 boilers, 40 steam engines doubled up, and then solid fuel is being made on the end by just about the right number of solid fuel makers. So the first thing that was pointed out was that solid fuel is best made from light oil. You get I think 2 units of solid fuel per unit of oil rather than 1 for petroleum and for heavy oil. So yeah, that's a good idea. It's probably more efficient than cracking it, even with productivity bonuses. So I'll probably just run the numbers to double check that. But yeah, that sounds good to me. The other questions were around efficiency of using the steam. So I wanted to just try out a couple of things. So the first thing, it was Julie Fisher suggested I put some tanks on the end to collect the excess steam. I've got a feeling that's not going to do anything at the moment because these are running at full capacity. So let's drop down some just to... Yeah, so they're not collecting steam. The reason for this is that I'm using the creative mode energy void object here, this creative mode thing. And this is sucking all the excess power out of the system. So there's no steam coming out the far end of this boiler. However, I've got a feeling that if I kill that, yeah, now we're collecting steam because there's excess production in the system. So put that back on. And the steam's not really going up or down because we're now making things at the same rate we need it. So yes, the steam tanks on the end are a good idea. They help in the case where you want to buffer production. So where your production sometimes drops, you want to carry on consuming the fuel while you've got it. And then later on, if there was a lack of fuel, then they could feed out of these tanks. So, good idea. It would probably be more useful in a setup where I was failing over to another form of power, and where, for example, the fuel was being supplied by trains and was a bit sporadic. Okay, the other question was... the 2040 setup is the right ratio so that you can consume 1 yellow of coal to power all the boilers, so a double array of boilers. Because I'm using the red belt, if there was coal on the belt, I could power twice that number of boilers before the belt ran out of stuff on the belt. And that's right. Solid fuel has... I think it's 25 units of power per block compared to 8 for coal. So there isn't a belt capacity issue here. But I've got a nagging suspicion that this is also the right amount of boilers to keep one offshore pump going. So I think we should test this. So let's take a blueprint of half. And go find some water. All right. Ooh, that's convenient. This is our starter area water. Drop that down. I'm still loving watching these robots doing their super quick builds. I'm tempted to give up on proper Factorio forever and just live in sandbox and build things. Right, here we are. There. So that's hooked up with water. And I think I'm just going to reverse the belt. You'll see why in a second. Okay, and let's put on a source of stuff for that. So we need a matter source. There we are. And we'll do it with solid fuel, as that's consistent with what else we've been doing. Okay, so we have solid fuel. This thing, I'm going to put down an energy void to keep everything going at full speed. Well, that's an energy source. That's an energy void. Right, so put that down there. And then I have a little bit of solid fuel we can drop into that boiler. That gets everything going. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we have this one offshore pump supplying this, and there is water flowing through. And this is still saying it's got water. And let's take a pipe out here. Yeah, there's definitely water in that pipe. And let's take a fluid void. So the fluid void eats any fluids which are put into it. Okay, that's definitely... Ah, no, well, that's not coming through in just a minute. There's a nuisance call. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's no water coming out this pipe, even though we're sucking out all the available water. Right, and I've got a feeling this is because we are actually consuming all the water and turning it all into steam. So these 20 boilers, that is as good as we can do. Just to prove the point, let's drop down some extra boilers. Oh, there's a little bit. It's just trickling through, isn't it? So let's put on a 21st and 22nd just to prove the point. Okay, so blueprint, and let's do it from power pole to power pole because that's a nice round figure. So that's that unit there. Oh, this last power pole's in the wrong place. Oh well, never mind. Okay. So are we getting... We're getting some steam. So that's up to 24 from 20. Ah, but look, we're not getting power down this end. So this is working. And then this is not. Okay, so these must be actively pulling water. They must be actively pumping water in. So this guy up here doesn't have sufficient water. Yeah, so this is without water, so it's not making the steam. So we really do have a limit of 20 because there just isn't the water in the pipe to supply more than 20. Right, well, that's it. So I think that covers all the questions and queries. The only other thing that we could do right now, just for the sake of it, is to flip this over from petroleum to light oil, and see how this works with the... We're now going to be pushing mixed fluids through this pipe. Let's just see how it works. These really aren't consuming very much petroleum, so you can see even though that's pushing in, it still hasn't got around to filling up anything. So I'm wondering if I can actually do a... Well, I think I just don't need to worry too much about it. And then lastly, there was one other thing I wanted to mention while I was here. Okay, so in the early game, obviously, I won't have solid fuel. I'll have coal. So initially, this will be a coal-fired power station, but then I'll only be running 1 or 2 arrays of this on coal, not the full 8. So what we can do there is basically take this existing design, set this to be a priority splitter, and the input priority is right. So that's going to prioritize input from the solid fuel. But then I can take coal off a coal bus, matter source, coal, and this will backfill any gaps which the solid fuel doesn't reach. And when I don't have solid fuel at all, obviously the coal will be the sole provider for here. So this is a nice thing where you can dump down the blueprint. In early game, the blueprint will work. In later, mid-game, once we have solid fuel, the solid fuel would just silently backfill the need. Let's see if this actually works, and then we'll call it a day for this episode. Okay, so let's make another passive energy sink so that this thing has to work for a living. There we are. So that's got fuel. It's got, let's pick up a bit of coal and bootstrap it in. Oh, and we need water. So for that we need a fluid source to supply water. There we are. Okay. So this is now eating the coal. We've got a full line of coal coming in, but the coal is being eaten. So then I'm going to push in some light oil here. Great, so now we're making, hopefully, we need to change the recipe. That's what was, okay. Okay, so that's why things weren't doing sensible jobs up here, because I was pushing light oil in, but the recipe is set to petroleum. Not enough coffee as yet in the day. Okay, so this is now making our fuel blocks. You can see that the fuel blocks are being prioritized onto here. So there's still some coal going through, but whenever there are fuel blocks available, the fuel blocks are winning. And look, we've got this mixed belt of coal and fuel blocks, solid fuel. Now that the solid fuel is starting to back up a little, we're getting more solid fuel coming through. So I think this is the solution. And I think if I ran this for a while, eventually enough of the boilers would be burning the solid fuel that the solid fuel would be backing up onto this belt here, so you'd get a solid run of solid fuel coming through, which would mean that there wouldn't be any room for any of the coal to go through. Let's see. Okay, so because the coal burns faster than the solid fuel, the coal tends to, even if they're pulled off the belt in roughly even numbers, the solid fuel is going to tend to make it to the end. So this is all solid fuel. There's a bit of coal up here. Yeah, this is working very well. So I'm pretty happy with this setup. So I am going to blueprint this and get it into my main site design. Thanks for your questions. Keep them coming, and hopefully I'll have time to make more videos in the coming days and weeks. Bye bye.